In 1966, Nigeria endured 2 military coups in just 6 months. The first was hailed by some as a bold revolution against corruption. The second was raw, brutal revenge. But here's the contradiction. Neither was truly about ideology. They were about fear, perception, and a nation tearing itself apart along ethnic lines. This event didn't just change leaders, they shattered trust, ignited a civil war, and embedded military rule in Nigeria's DNA. To grasp while Nigeria still grapples with division today, we must uncover what really happened in 1966. The coups of 1966 aren't ancient history. They are the blueprint for Nigeria's ongoing struggles. Today, the military's shadow looms over politics. Since independence, Nigeria has seen 6 successful coups and generals have ruled for nearly 3 decades. Ethnic distrust festers. Northerners weary of southern domination, Igbos haunted by memories of exclusion. Why? Because 1966 militarized governance. Coups became a tool for power grabs, not reforms. Unity feels fragile. Biafra's scar still lingers in secessionist whispers from the southeast. Oil wealth meant to bind instead fuels regional rivalries. Echoing the pre-1966 chaos, almost every crisis, from Boko Haram's rise in the north to Niger Delta militancy, traces back to that year's breakdown of trust. 1966 proved that when fear overrides facts, a nation pays for generations. By early 1966, Nigeria's first republic was crumbling. Independence in 1960 brought hope, but corruption, election rigging, and ethnic favoritism poisoned it. The North dominated federally, allied with unpopular leader Ladoke Akintola in the west, while opposition leader Obafemi Awolowo, who was one of the founding fathers of the nation, languished in prison for supposedly planning a coup to overthrow the government of the day, led by Sir Tafawa Balewa. Violence raged in the western region. Operation Wetier in the southwest saw homes burned and lives lost. Young army majors, frustrated by neutral senior officers, plotted a revolution to end corruption and install Awolowo. The plotters were mostly Igbo majors like Chukwuma Nzwegu, Emmanuel Ifeajuna, and Christian Anuforo, all educated, idealistic, and sandhorse trained. Yet, the plot also pulled in Yoruba officers such as Major Adewale Ademoyega, Captain Ganiyu Adeleke, and others. They struck on January 15. In Kaduna, Nzwegu killed the northern premier Ahmadu Bello, the southerner, and Brigadier Ademolegun. In western Nigeria, Captain Iwobinsi shot and killed Western Premier Akintola after a fierce gunfight. Akintola fought bravely with his gun at his residence, but sadly he couldn't survive. In Lagos, Ifeajuna kidnapped and later murdered Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa and Finance Minister Festus Okoche Ebo, while also executing senior northern officers like Brigadier Mai Malari and Lieutenant Colonel Pam. In the chaotic aftermath, the nation held its breath, unaware of the Prime Minister's fate, until a breakthrough at the police headquarters, when Assistant Superintendent Ahmad Babangida stumbled upon the decomposing bodies of Balewa and Okoche Ebo along the Lagos-Abeokuta road. He rushed the grim news to his superior. That officer was Alhaji Kafaru Oluwole Tinubu, the uncle of Nigeria's current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As the senior police officer in charge, Kafaru Tinubu immediately escalated the discovery to the police high command, initiating the official recovery of the Prime Minister's remains and securing a vital piece of the unfolding national tragedy. But back on the streets, it looked like an Igbo coup, and perception mattered more than intent. Even though further research showed that some leaders were Yoruba and some foot soldiers were Northerners. The conspiracy theory grew from a stark reality. No Igbo leaders died. President Nnamdi Azikiwe, who was abroad for health issues, had in the minds of the theorists conveniently escaped the failed putsch. Furthermore, The Igbo GOC, who is the General Commanding Officer of the Nigerian Army, Johnson Aguiyi Ironsi, escaped the plotters and rallied loyal troops. The majors failed to seize full control. They had planned a socialist reset but botched the execution due to poor planning and leaks. Aguiyi Ironsi suppressed the mutiny, but the political damage was already done. Northern and Yoruba soldiers were dead, while Igbo officers were spared. With the premiers of the western and northern regions dead, but the premier of the eastern region, Michael Okpara, left completely unharmed, conspiracy theories exploded, feeding the dangerous whispers of an Igbo hegemony. With the majors arrested, Aguiyi Ironsi, an Igbo general, emerged as the head of state, accepting a voluntary handover from terrified ministers. He promised a corrective regime, arrested corrupt politicians, mostly non-MPC party members, to spare northerners. He launched inquiries, retained civilian advisors, but reforms deepened divides. The Unification Decree No. 34 abolished regions, unified civil services, banned tribal unions aiming to end tribalism. Southerners cheered centralization, Northerners saw it as stripping their safeguards against the pushy Igbos. Haunted by January's killings, Ironsi started appeasing the Northerners. He promoted Northern majors like Murtala Mohammed and Mohammed Shua over seniors. Ironsi surrounded himself with Northern guards, including his future killers like Theophilus Danjuma. He spared Northern People Congress politicians from arrest, but he also delayed the trials of the January majors, fearing Southern backlash. He even entrusted his personal security to Northerners, hosting relatives of January victims nearby, which was a big mistake. All this in a bid to please both sides. But these gestures backfired spectacularly. Promotions fueled Igbo bias rumors, despite Northerners actually being promoted more. Not trying the majors who executed the coup promptly bred resentment. Northern guards betrayed him. Unanswered questions festered. Why no Igbo victims in January? Was Ironsi tipped off? Perception of an Igbo regime hardened. The northern soldiers completely ignored Ironsi's Hausa fluency and northern roots. By mid-1966, riots killed hundreds of Igbos. Araba, which means secession, echoed. Ironsi's good intentions, unity, merit, were seen as threats. He investigated May riots, but ignored deeper fears. By July, Nigeria wasn't healing. It was a powder keg. Fear turned into fury. Northern soldiers, grieving leaders like Mai Malari and Palm, saw Ironsi's appeasement as weakness. Grievances piled, unifications, promotions, delayed trials, rumors of another Igbo coup, a July rematch brewed. Not a planned revolution, but full-blown mutiny. It ignited in Abeokuta. Lieutenant Colonel Okorweze's meeting sparked northern NCOs, Kwale and Mahe, to kill him and Major Obieno. The news spread like wildfire. In Ibadan, Danjuma had Ironsi and his aide, Lieutenant Colonel Adekunle Fajuyi, killed, with Ironsi reportedly showing no ounce of fear and Fajuyi being loyal to his GOC until the end. The northerner Ironsi had entrusted with his personal security had betrayed him. In Lagos, Murtala's men captured Captain Okoye. In Kaduna, the commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Okoro, was lured and shot. In Kano, later mutineers massacred Igbos at airports and train stations. Hundreds of Igbo officers died, beaten, flogged, and grenaded. Mutiny devolved into pogroms, or what in layman's term you would call a massacre. Between September and October, 30,000 Igbos were slaughtered and looted in the north. Soldiers joined mobs. Quota killings became status. Future heads of state such as Sani Abacha, Buhari, and Badamasi Babangida also took part in this, as they were northern soldiers, but the extent of their involvement is unknown. There was a dangerous power vacuum at the heart of Nigeria. After the July 1966 counter-coup, many northern officers openly debated Araba, meaning total separation of the north from the south. At the center of it was Lieutenant Colonel Murtala Mohammed and Major Martin Adamu, some of the coup's ringleaders. They reportedly pushed aggressively for secession, but senior civil servants, alongside British and American diplomats in Lagos, fiercely opposed the idea, warning the mutineers that a northern state without the south would be landlocked and cut off from vital access to the Atlantic Ocean and global trade. Western diplomats also reportedly threatened that Britain and the wider West would not support or aid Nigeria if the split went ahead. After heated arguments, a compromise was reached. Murtala and the mutineers rejected Brigadier Babafemi Ogundipe, the most senior surviving officer after Ironsi, and insisted that Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon, a young Angas Christian from the Middle Belt, become head of state. The decision angered Lieutenant Colonel Chukwu Emeka Odumegu Ojukwu, the Eastern Region military governor, who reportedly refused to accept taking orders from Gowon. Although both were of the same rank, but on the pecking order of military hierarchy, Gowon was under him, and it didn't help that he was also 2 years younger than Ojukwu. Although Gowon did not participate in the coup, he ended up being the new head of state. This decision would be one of the catalysts for the horrors that were to come.